the easiest thing for you to brand is your name.
Welcome to the Bold Artist Podcast Summer Sessions. We're here with hot topics of the season.
I thought you were going to say hot Charla.
Hot Charla of the season. We love you, Charla.
I thought you were going to say my name and you're like, hot. I'm like, is she gonna, what's she going to say?
Okay, well, we're here with Hot Charla of the season, and we're talking about names, and Charla, you have a very distinct, recognizable name, Charla Maarschalk, which I'm sure everyone mispronounces, as do they my name, Mary Janelle, which is all one word. I have a whole story about my name of, how I got it and how it's been an interesting name to live with my whole life. But we're talking about artist names and the process of an artist choosing their name. Now, if you're new to art, this might be something that's actually on your mind. If you've been in art for many years, you still might have it on your mind because a lot of artists will change, shift, or edit their names as they grow or as they market other websites or expand into new mediums. This isn't really a topic for everyone. Even if you've gone by the same art name for years, this is a topic for you. So Charlotte, what are some of your thoughts about an artist choosing the name which people will recognize them for?
I have a lot of thoughts, I think, on this topic. Mm-hmm. I think that it's a big topic. It's important when everyone is starting out. They put a lot of effort into their name. It's because it's important to us what we're going to be remembered as or what people are going to search up for when they're looking for us. But I actually am of the thought process that you need to just use your name. An artist, as an artist, we are us. We are a brand. You have to create yourself around a brand. You have to brand yourself. But people will remember you. They'll remember your art and your name. And I think I go with that for almost any business that is going to be you. If you're not planning on creating a large company, then you name it something different. But as a photographer, I kind of went by the same philosophy. I think, like you, I've had other names. I've thought it would be cute to come up with a really unique, cute name, but nobody ever remembers it. They remember meeting you. They remember meeting you at your shows. They remember meeting you if you're a photographer, at the wedding, and they call you by name and they remember your name. And when they refer you by name, and then they don't remember what your company is called. As well as if they remember your company, they may not remember you. And it's more important that they remember you and who you are and that your name is searchable. But I do believe, and this is probably where we can start speaking to you choosing a more unique name, is that if you have a more common name, there might be like 10 of you out there, even in the same profession. Like if there's 10 artists by your name or 10 photographers by your name or what have you, then you need to kind of get a little more creative as to how to use your name. And I think, Mary Janelle, I've always been Charla Maarschalk, so I'm kind of easy to find. I actually think I'm the only one who exists in the world. I don't think there's another one.
You were really smart. You bought charla.ca, so you're super easy to find. And you gave me that advice early on in my art career. You said buy maryjanelle.com right away. Yeah. And so I did. So I'm maryjanelle.com, and I just have to educate people how to spell it. So that's something I've just embraced. I've just decided I have to educate them. But once they get it, they usually get it. But we were talking about a time when I was, back in the day when I was in pottery, I had really, dreamed up this idea to have Shaping Earth pottery, and I had even gone as far as making little business cards and everything. But no matter where I went, people still said Mary Janelle. They were like, this is Mary Janelle's pottery, this is Mary Janelle's piece, and I was signing Mary Janelle on the bottom of the piece. In last week's summer session, we talked about signatures and signing our work, so I was signing Mary Janelle, and I just realized that no one was going to remember Shaping Earth Pottery because they were remembering me, exactly what you just said. And then I just needed to go by my name. And so that is what I have done in all of my art mediums. I'm a multi-form artist, and I've just, every time I adapt to a new form or I'm doing a new kind of show, it's just Mary Janelle. And I just have to teach people how to spell it. And now I do name other things, like if I have a book or I have I have a memoir cast, it has a name, but it is still Mary Janelle's project, and people know that they can search my name and find that. So but what you said about people having common names, like you and I have very different names, but when someone has a common name, I've noticed friends who they've just shortened or jazzed it up somehow with a little twist, you know, like their name might be very simple and basic and like lots of them out there, but they might just initial something or shorten something else and just kind of give it a differentiator. And still what will happen is that they'll use that for, like, let's say their website and their branding and their cards. People will still refer to them as in their full name, as so-and-so the artist, but on their cards and their branding, it will look a little jazzed up, a little bit set apart and different. And
that's mostly because they need a domain name, right? And it's hard to get. You can't, if your name is like Kim Smith, then you can't get that domain name. I actually couldn't get Charla.com because it was already taken. There's like a famous person by the name of Charla, so it was gone already. I think that was who had it. I'm not totally sure. Even though it's a unique name. So domain name is like the hardest thing to choose. So if you just have Charla Art or Charla Studios, and I kind of played around with some of those in my early days, as a differentiator. But you got to remember that you're not a celebrity and you're like a Hollywood celebrity.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about that kind of fame. You're going to be famous in your local circles and in the places that you hang out on the internet. And your name will most likely be fairly unique when mixed with your last name. I've also seen first and second names. I have several people that I know that have taken their last name out and used their first and second name, and they sound really nice together. And they've branded that as their name, but they're still known as their first and last name to their local community. So it kind of just depends on your name and how you need to differentiate it for the people that are really going to be looking for you.
Yeah, and doing the Bold Artist podcast, I've gotten the chance to go to all of our guests' websites and see how they choose their domains. And a lot of our guests that I've noticed will have the word art or artist connected to their name and then the end of it. So it'll be so-and-so art or so-and-so artist. And I think that that's probably coming down to them needing to buy a domain name that represents their name. But I also think like that might be something that's searchable in keywords. I'm not sure about all of that SEO. I was told on Instagram that it helps to have the term art in there when people are looking through looking through to find someone to follow, and you have something that says what you do right in your name.
That's what
that
I
it
have.
Helps.
Yeah, my Instagram is charla.maarschalk.art. And now I've got it everywhere, so I can't even change it. But I did that originally so that the algorithm would find me, because that would know that I was an artist.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks and tips to adding that what you do onto your name. But I've also heard the advice to not actually have your name be with that definition, because you, as artists, we change a lot. So like to go register your business name or to actually make people like to call it Mary Janelle Painting, unless I bought that domain name, you know, for that purpose of just showing my paintings, to be branded and known as that, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself either. You want to keep it open to like a broader scope of being able to change and flex with the tides and seasons. So with someone who's just starting out, beginning to choose their name, it might be a no-brainer to do a Google search, but it is really important, if you don't already know this, to do the Google search and see who out there is sharing your name, what they're doing, and when people are entering your name into Google, what are they going to be finding? And then if you need to tweak the spelling or shorten or jazz it up somehow to set yourself apart just for Google searches, that's really an important tip to bear in mind.
Yeah, I had to do that with Charla.ca as a photographer. So my maiden name was Moss, M-O-S-S, which was Charla Moss, which was a really nice name. If I could go back, I would have kept that as a business name. But I got married and chose to go as Maarschalk, and I didn't even need to, I still could have chosen that legally and used my maiden name in my branding because I was already kind of branded as Charla Moss. And it was easy, and it's so easy to remember and easy to spell and still unique. So I wish that I had kept it. But when I went to Charla Maarschalk, my first thought was that no one's going to be able to remember how to spell it and no one will be able to find me. So that was why I chose to go with Charla.ca, because Charla is still unique enough. And when you see that it's spelled with a C and not an S, visually you will know to go to that. But I recognize right away that people will want the .com. They'll want to put in .com. As a photographer, I thought I'm going to be photographing, and my referrals are all going to be local. And so as a Canadian, it was okay to use CA because it was a local work a local business that I was branding. And so what I did was I put the .ca on everything. I branded my domain name and not my business name. So I branded Charla.ca and I put this .ca everywhere on my business cards, on my blog, in my signature, everything that I could do. And so I built my photography business. And what was really funny, I didn't know if it worked or not, but I was doing well, and my cousin was also a photographer, and sometimes we would second shoot for each other. So I went to her wedding, a wedding with her, to second shoot for her. And when we opened up the hotel room door, the bride answered, and she actually looked past my cousin, who was her hired photographer, and she's like, Charla.ca is here. And I laughed so hard. We both laughed, but what I really laughed is that she called me Charla.ca. I'm like, yes, my branding worked.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that is a funny story.
Yeah, so you just need to push it, right? If you got to put a flair to your name so that you can have the domain you want or whatever, you need people to remember it, and it means pushing it everywhere you go and repeating to your friends and your family so that they know what to say to people. If they're referring me, they'll go to Charla.ca. It's actually what we all call ourselves, or not we all call ourselves, but my family all call me Charla.ca because I pushed it so much. And it's just repeat and put it everywhere and you will be remembered.
Yeah. Such good advice. And also, one of the other real important reasons to choose your own name or a spin of your own name is for longevity. Because you want to like this in 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
You don't want to grow old of something or wish you had stuck with something. And so it is important to put that thought into it now of, will I like this? Now, if you don't like the name that your mama gave you, then that might be a whole other story. That might be a whole other podcast.
But what people will remember you as. The people who love you, what they call you is what you will be remembered as. So you want that to be your authentic signature, for your work.
Yeah. So, in closing, from MaryJanelle.com and Charla.ca, we just want to encourage you to make your name memorable when you're choosing your artist name, but to use yours in whatever memorable way that you can, to own it, be proud of it, and also think about the longevity and the searchability of your name.
Yeah.
And so
just I have one last thought I really want to put in there, because marketing I've done marketing my whole life and I love it, is the thought of having a unique name. Like if you're like, I don't care, I'm going to be Bold Flower, that's going to be the name of my company. To brand a name that is not easy to remember, easy to associate with you, is very difficult. And some of the biggest, most successful companies have failed at creating a brand that becomes, a household name. It's difficult to brand your company, and it's difficult to make people remember it. There's a lot of wisdom that goes into being able to brand a unique name. The easiest thing for you to brand is your name. It comes with you, and it's just the easiest thing for the person that meets you to remember. And even the person that meets you online will remember your name. So branding something that's not your actual given name is just going to be a huge challenge that you have to be ready for. And you have to go in and learn and study marketing if you want to do that. I just want to really bring that home, that the more cutesy you go, or the cool or the trendier you go, the harder it's going to be to brand that. And you really want to work on your art and the things, the projects and the passions that you have. You really don't want to have to build your brand. Leave that to like a big company. If you're going to have a big company, then fine, hire a marketing team. But for just you and your art, you don't want to go there. I know that's controversial advice, but I just want to stick that in there. Just think about it. Put more thought into it.
Definitely good food for thought. And no, I think that there's a lot of artists out there that are going to appreciate that advice. So thank you for joining us on the Bold Artist Podcast Summer Sessions. Until next time, keep creating.